This course is designed to improve your understanding of social business and entrepreneurship. We will start by reviewing the external factors that are shaping a new generation of social entrepreneurs and social business models. The emergence of new societal challenges, the withdrawal of welfare policies in developed countries, new economic paradigms and technological opportunities. In the second lesson, we will deal specifically with new economic paradigms: sharing, circular, inclusive economy, makers' movement and co-creation. After that, we will try to understand which new social business models are being adopted by entrepreneurs in order to be sustainable and to produce a social impact in the new context. This will lead us to consider the transformations that are likely to affect each single corporate function when social enterprises or profit companies are exposed to such pressures. Finally, we will try to understand the characteristics of social entrepreneurs in developing countries and how to measure and communicate performances to stakeholders. Societal challenges and megatrends are transforming both social enterprises and profit companies in a very pervasive way. In the first lesson, we will briefly review some of these challenges in order to understand in which way societal challenges will create new opportunities and transform the nature of social entrepreneurship: food and nutrition, aging society and workforce, education and skill gaps, energy and resource management, and urban communities' quality of life. The issue of food translates into different specific challenges: ensuring the access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food, decreasing food waste throughout the supply chain, increasing the sustainability of harvesting and transformation processes. Agriculture will need to produce 60% more food globally to meet the growing food demand of the over 9 billion people who will populate the Earth by 2050 and the related expected dietary changes. Given the scarcity of resources such as land, water and energy, it is necessary to identify more efficient practices to produce food, namely increasing volumes without using more resources. The issue of aging society, helping people to live longer and better, implies an increase in the need for long-term and homely care, the necessity to promote the inclusion of elderly people in the society and the transfer of knowledge among the workforce. The global share of older people aged 60 years or over increased from 9.2% in 1990 to 11.7% in 2013 and will continue to grow, reaching 21.1% by 2050. Globally, the number of older persons is expected to more than double from 841 million people in 2013 to more than 2 billion in 2050. Elderly people are projected to exceed the number of children for the first time in 2047. The problem of education means supporting the education inclusion in developing countries and lifelong learning in developed countries, reducing the early school leaving and promoting the matching between work opportunities and teaching offering. In 2012, nearly 58 million children at primary school age, typically between 6 and 11 years of age, were not enrolled in school. The different reasons include demographic pressure, war situations, and a lack of adequate commitment in certain countries. Marginalization of certain socio-economic groups also plays a part. The issue of resources is very complex and entails the management of energy, water, raw material, and waste. In particular, the challenge for both energy and water management is to ensure the universal access to these resources and to improve the efficiency of the production and management system, finding alternative models and identifying new ways to develop clean, low-carbon and efficient energy systems. Nowadays, 1.3 billion people do not have access to electricity and 2.7 billion people rely on traditional biomass for cooking. About 1 billion people do not have access to drinkable water, concentrated in Africa, Asia and Middle East, and are vulnerable to waterborne diseases. The number is projected to reach 3 billion in 2025. Although agriculture is responsible for the 70% of world water use, most of the increase in demand will derive from a dramatic rise of 400% in demand in manufacturing processes, over 140% in electricity generation and 130% in domestic use. Another challenge is to reduce the dependency on raw materials. Lastly, we need to build a waste management system that guarantees both human health and environmental protection, and to reduce the amount of waste by improving recycling, reuse, remanufacturing and recovering of raw materials. The last challenge is somehow transversal to the others and refers to the models of life in our cities in order to ensure a good level of well-being. This relates to the use of space and infrastructures in terms of housing, mobility and public spaces. Moreover, it involves all the practices needed to improve the work-life balance. And lastly, we certainly need to take into account and take advantage of the increasing cultural diversity of society. In the face of the need of urgent solutions to the previous challenges, we are witnessing the withdrawal of welfare. Different factors, such as the financial crisis and the life expectancy increase, push the enhancement of public commitment and investment on social issues. However, the limits to public expenditure imposed by both internal and international policies reduce these opportunities. We can see health expenditure as an example. Its share on GDP has increased by 3 times during the last 50 years in the European Union, reaching 9% of the GDP according to the data provided by the OECD. On the other hand, technologies, now often available as commodities, enable different opportunities to provide new solutions to old problems. Specifically, they can be employed to increase the capability of identifying social needs or to increase the number of possible solutions to social issues. Moreover, the use of technological platforms and the dematerialization of assets are able to significantly decrease the transaction costs, thus generating brand new business models and opportunities.